All right, everybody, let's get right into it. 2024 music you may have missed, plus my top 12 albums of the year, and what's going on, what's gonna look like for 2025 and the year ahead for hip hop. We one day in and already is getting off to a pretty good start, pretty interesting start anyway. But first off, breakthrough artists and music that I think you may have missed from this past year. Now, I got a few albums and a few just artists in general. Some of these artists dropped multiple albums. I'm gonna start with La Russell from the Bay Area of California, Oakland to be exact, I believe. La Russell is one of the things that's missing in hip hop. Very fun music, very of the culture. It's party music without a doped out message, without a bunch of mumbling and offbeat rapping. La Russell is definitely should be lit from 2025 and on up. I believe he dropped 2 or 3 projects this year. Definitely go check him out on Spotify. Definitely somebody you should be following. Upbeat music that'll get your day going. And of course, with Kendrick Lamar winning the battle, and I'm not gonna talk about the battle. I have a whole video on Kendrick Lamar's year. The link will be in the description below. But the West in general, all those artists that he had on G and X, and a lot of the artists that have been bubbling on the underground in the West Coast, definitely looking forward to them. Daylight, the ex-battle rapper or battle rapper being one of them, and A Room Full of Mirrors, the collective as a whole. A lot of talent that Punch from TDE has gathered together there for the group A Room Full of Mirrors. They dropped a lot of music this year. Check them out on the YouTube channel, of course, on all streaming platforms. A lot of dope music, a lot of dope artists in that collective. Definitely looking forward to seeing more from them in 2025. JID, from Atlanta, with the possible retirement of J. Cole, or he's saying this is gonna be his last album in 2025. Also, something I'm looking very forward to in 2025 is J. Cole's The Fall Off album. But besides that, JID, this is his year to, I think, really take off. Now, he's one of those artists that, again, for features of the year, JID is up there, had a lot of dope features this past year, Eminem being the one I can think of right off the top of my head. I think he was also on Ab-Soul's album, Soul Burger. Yeah, he was. They both went crazy on that one. We'll speak about that album in a minute. But I'm definitely looking forward to Jid breaking through and carrying the flag for Dreamville for the years to come. Now, another artist is Samara Sin, the young lady out of, I believe, Tennessee, by way of LA. Super fire female artist. Definitely I could see her having a year like Doechii had this year. She dropped a very good project in Katana this year. Kind of went under the radar with everything that was going on. A lot of things went under the radar, and we'll get into that as well. But yeah, definitely Samara Sin is somebody to look out for as well. And now we'll get into my top 12 albums of this year. Now we're gonna start with honorable mentions because it was a lot of great hip hop music and albums and projects dropped this year. It was tough for me to narrow it down to 12, but I was able to do that. But honorable mentions, I'm gonna start with the OG LL Cool J, The Force. I like the album, but I'm gonna be honest, the 2 singles that he dropped had me a little bit over excited for the album. So the album wasn't as great as I thought it was gonna be. I thought LL was gonna drop another classic. It fell a little bit short of that, but it was still a pretty good album. Go check that out. Glorilla, who did drop, I think technically she dropped 2 projects this year, but Glorious being the better of the 2. Glorious went crazy, not really under the radar at all. If you was on social media at all, you heard Glorious, especially the single, Hold On, dope single. Glorilla really surprised me with that record this year. Very good album, Glorious. We get into Kanye and Vultures, Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign in Vultures 1 and 2. Both projects were pretty good. Again, I'm holding them to a high standard. Both of them are very high level artists. Fell a little short of what I expected, so they didn't make my list, but still good projects to listen to. Ab-Soul, Soul Burger, also flew under the radar with everything going on with TDE. Of course, Kendrick having the year that he had. Schoolboy dropping the dope out. Everything that was going on at TDE. Soul Burger kind of flew under the radar. Very dope album. Also the album by DJ Quick and Jason Martin. Another dope album that just came to me while I was thinking about that. But Soul Burger almost made my top 12, but didn't quite get there because it was too much music. Future and Metro Boomin, Of course, Like That, this is on a lot of people's lists. Not Like That. We Don't Trust You and We Still Don't Trust You. They dropped 2 projects. I like the first one better. Of course, with the Like That feature, it blew up with Kendrick being on there starting the battle. But I haven't been the hugest Future fan in the past, but I did like the projects that he dropped this year. Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre's Missionary. Very good album. Very good album. Another album that almost made my top 12 list, but just fell just short. That's what it was. Maxo Kream, Personification, another album that really flew under the radar. Really like that album. Go check it out. Maxo Kream out of Houston, Texas, I believe. Pretty much always drops pretty dope music. Definitely got busy on this album. Another album that just kind of went under the radar. Personification by Maxo Kream. And then I get to Tierra Whack. Now, if you're not familiar with Tierra Whack, she's an artist that debuted around 2018. Extremely talented female MC and singer. The project that she dropped this year, Worldwide Whack, definitely a listen, a go-to, especially if you like chill music, like music with a message for the ladies. Love that album. Just couldn't crack my top 12. But let's get into that vaunted top 12 that I am talking about. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with my picks, but trust me, if you listen to these records, even though you may hate the artist for some other odd reason, these records, I believe, were the top hip hop records released this year. Now, coming in at number 12 was Big Sean, Better Me Than You. Went under the radar. Big Sean is just cursed by timing a lot of times when he releases his projects, his singles, etc. Big Sean just flew under the radar. I believe he released one of his best albums though to date with Better Me Than You. I did a review on this channel. That link will be probably in the description as well. I'll link the playlist at the end of the video as well. Very good album by Big Sean, all the way through, tight. Number 11, Ransom, Conway the Machine, and V Don, Chaos Is My Ladder 2. Now, Ransom released or was a part of 3 projects this year. Shout out to him for doing the Cabrini Green project. That's interesting. Shout out to what used to be the Low in Chicago. But this project was really dope. Went under the radar again just because of everything that was going on this year and just a lot of dope music. That's why it only comes in at number 11. But definitely an album that was kind of pretty much for what they was doing, flawless all the way through. Now coming in at number 10, Rhapsody, Please Don't Cry, nominated for a Grammy. Very, very good album, but just, you know, because it doesn't relate to me as much is why it falls at number 10. I believe it will be higher on most people's lists, but for me, Rhapsody comes in at number 10, another thorough album all the way through. Number 9, Lupe Fiasco's Samurai. Now, sonically, the previous 2 albums are a little bit better due to the beats, but Lupe's writing and rapping on this, probably the best of the year out of everybody. Lupe always has incredible depth to his lyrics and his songs and the meanings of the albums. Samurai is one of those projects. Definitely an album you should dig into and go listen to. Number 8, Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady. In my opinion, this is Eminem's best album since the Eminem Show. Definitely came with it on this album. Lyrically, still very, very, very hard to match. I would say came in second to Lupe as far as rapping on albums is concerned. Okay, we're not counting any battle songs here. But Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady was definitely a return of the Eminem that we needed in hip hop for sure. Number 7, Freddie Gibbs, You Only Die Once. This album really went under the radar and is a very thorough project from Freddie Gibbs. Quintessential ride music from Freddie Gibbs. He's been on a pretty amazing album run or project run since the Pronto EP for me, which was like 2016, 2015 sometime. But this is definitely one of his best projects in that time span. Love this album all the way through. This is one of those albums you can put on and just leave it alone. You ain't got to touch it. You can listen to every record. Now at number 6, Tyler, the Creator, Chromacopia. Again, I did a review of this album on the channel. That link will be at the end of the video. Again, I said everything I need to say about this album. If this album was released early in the year, it definitely would have been nominated for some Grammys. Tyler gave you everything that you needed on this album, pretty much. It's very diverse, extremely musical. One of the most musical albums released this year, if not the most musical album released this year. There's one more album that I think is a little bit more diverse when it comes to a soundscape standpoint. But Tyler did his thing on this album. It's just at number 6, it's a tough year for albums as far as I'm concerned. What were my favorite albums? But Tyler, the creator, Chromacopia, if you haven't listened to it, I don't know what you're doing. You should be listening to it right now. Number 5, Vince Staples' Dark Times. Vince executed this album perfectly. First of all, the flow of the album is amazing. It's a shorter album, which I think artists need to get into doing a little more. I think releasing 20 records on an album, making hour-long plus albums is something of the past. I think you can drop each year if you take those projects, cut them in half, give me about 10 to 12 tracks, 15 at the most, and make sure they are all top level records like Vince Staples did on this Dark Times album. This is definitely an album I was listening to all year. It was criminally underrated. Don't understand how it did. Well, I do understand how it didn't get more light because Drake and Kendrick just sucked all the air out of the room. Let's just be honest. But this is a classic album to me by Vince Staples, Dark Times. Definitely should go check it out. Number 4, doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal. This, we saw, I think, the birth of a superstar this year with doechii. This project, which they're calling a mixtape, really, I mean, I don't see how it's a mixtape. It's really an album, and it's a fantastic album. This is another hip-hop album that I think is a classic album. I'm sorry, but the versatility on this album is incredible. She didn't miss in one record as far as her rhyming, her rapping is top-notch on every record. Again, this is another one. It's right up there with Chromacopia as far as being the diversity in the soundscapes that she gave you. She went through a timeline of styles in hip hop as well throughout this album. Just a very fire album. doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal at number 4. Number 3, coming in number 3, this will probably be controversial, but Common and Pete Rock, The Auditorium. This is my style of hip hop. Of course, Common being the MC, being from Chicago, me being from Chicago, all the references of not only Chicago, but just of African-American culture and history. Pete Rock did his thing on the beats. This album, even though it was a very long album, to me was a flawless album. They hit on pretty much every record. I also did a review of this album on the channel as well. This, if you listen to the review, you already know this was my second album of the year for most of the year. Great album by Common and Pete Rock. They're doing part 2 next year. Can't wait to hear that. But it was unseated at the number 2 spot by the album that Kendrick Lamar dropped out of the sky in the year of Kendrick Lamar, GNX. What can I say about GNX that hasn't already been said, other than people are saying, how is it number 2? It's number 2 because it's number 2. We'll see what number 1 is when we get there. But GNX, 12 tracks, 12 bangers. Bottom line, did not miss on a lyric, a bar on this record. Had a lot of fun on the record. Really brought the West Coast sound to the forefront. And we're dropping it at the end of the year. I think Kendrick set a pretty high standard going into next year for everybody else in hip hop. Definitely GNX. Everything that needs to be said has been said about GNX. I also did a review on the channel of this album as well, so go check that out. And the number 1 album, my number 1 album for the year, started off, dropped at the beginning of the year, and just could not be dethroned for me. The range on this album, the diversity that you got on this album, they executed the different styles of each song perfectly on this album all the way through. Schoolboy Q, every feature was super dope and to me placed perfectly on this album. This was my favorite Schoolboy Q album to date, period, point blank. And with all the dope music dropped this year, Blue Lips was still the best album to me. When I went back and listened to all the albums, I went back and, scanned through all of these and listened to them again. And Blue Lips was number 1. Bottom line, Schoolboy Q did his thing on this album. So that was my number 1 album of this classic year of 2024 hip hop. Again, if Kendrick adds the battle songs, okay, maybe he gets number 1. But the battle songs do not count. GNX is its own project. Blue Lips is number 1. I'll argue with you in the comments about it, okay? If necessary. So that's it, man. That's all I got for my albums of the year. Now, that I'm looking forward to in 2025, along with what I've already mentioned, is if we can get a Black Hippie project at the end of the year next year, that would be great. I'm looking for a Royce the 5'9" project next year. Definitely looking for, here's an idea that I have that might sound crazy. I think J. Cole and Drake should drop a project next year towards the end of the year. It's something that I think that they owe their fans. Their fans have been holding it down for them in what has been a very tough year from a PR standpoint for both of those artists. And I think that that's something that could rehab them a little bit and get them back on the right track. Joint album from Drake and J. Cole for 2025. Let's put it in the air and see if it happens. But all in all, this was a classic year for hip hop, and the transition is changing. The changing of the guard has happened. Oh, shout out to Joey Badass as well. I will be getting to Joey Badass and the little snippet that he dropped on the first of the year. The little short record that he dropped where he's coming out swinging a little bit. All right, I like it. I love it. This is hip hop. This is what it's supposed to be. He will definitely get some responses from the proper people to respond to the people he took shots at. He didn't just take shots at Kendrick. He took shots at the whole region there a little bit. We'll get to that. Looking forward to hear from Joey Badass in 2025 as well. But getting back to the changing of the guard, we saw a lot of the quote unquote older legends get in some trouble, right? Diddy, Jay-Z still having some legal troubles. Fat Joe stuck his foot in his mouth. We can get rid of Fat Joe. We can dispatch of him. DJ Khaled has gone into hiding. Rick Ross, hopefully he quits playing himself and gets back. Because Rick Ross, I do like Rick Ross's music, even though I may not be the biggest fan of him away from music. But Nicki and Wayne kind of were playing themselves and trying to defend Drake and getting upset about other things. So I think we're going to see a lot of those artists who are at the top of the game for a long time kind of fade off, bow out gracefully. I think that the drug trap rap that's what I call it, starting to fade off as well and become more of a niche and not be forced upon us as much. You know, the Playboy Cardis, there's a bunch of young kids coming out, Kenny Mason. I think they have good records, right? That's a style that people like, not really for me, but I think that's going to be pushed out of the forefront and go more into a niche, which I think it is. I think it's more pop, rap music is what I like to call it, or party music. It's not really hip hop. So I think that changing of the guard is what you'll see as well. A little less commercialization, if I could speak, in hip hop. And we're getting back to the culture, getting back to the roots, getting back to the soul, getting back to the rhythm, okay? Getting back to sonically things being as soulful as possible, okay? Things being as in pocket as possible. Okay, there was a lot of rambling. There was a lot of no lyrics. There's a lot of offbeat rapping and things like that. That's not music, okay? And that's not nothing we create. We're going to get back to creating real good music in hip hop. I love to see it. Hope y'all love to see it too. And I hope y'all love this video. And if you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell, share this video, tell a friend to tell a friend. What a year we just had in 2024. Thank y'all for watching as always. Thank y'all for rocking with the channel in 2024. I just started doing this commentary in April. Already close to 10,000 subs. I appreciate everybody who rocks with the channel and has been rocking with the channel. Love all of y'all. I have a lot more in store for 2025. We have a lot more in store for 2025. And I can't thank y'all enough for rocking with the channel. This is really fun. I really enjoy doing this. So thank you for checking in, and we out.